Hi fellow travellers, Catholics and non-believers. I've been prompted by so many people to record this YouTube video to explain the decision-making process that led to my decision to write the book Unholy Silence, Covering Up the Sins of the Fathers. I'm Kevin Lee. I was a priest for 20 years, well this close to 20 years, and I spent the last 9 of those years as parish priest of Padre Pio community in Glenmore Park, where with a committee we built the church that eventually became a parish, which was named after a stigmatic saint. But anyway, that's another story. Just wanted to explain to you why I did what I did. Some people would assume that I fell in love and decided to throw away the priesthood, but in fact I often had been in love, often had an experience that I thought was love, and I turned my back on that for the purpose of continuing to want to serve people as a Catholic priest, administering the sacraments, being there for them in their good times as well as their bad, being a chaplain for the New South Wales Police in the region of most difficult area of Fairfield, Cabramatta, Wetherill Park. I was there at Cabramatta for a while, Blacktown, even Green Valley, a whole lot of other places where I'd ministered to police in often terrible experiences of fatality, of suicide, drug overdoses, murders, every sort of imaginable hardship that police put themselves through. I was there hoping that I was in some way able to inspire them to see Jesus as hope in those times of darkness. Anyway, I did that, as I said, and I enjoyed it for so much of the time that I was a priest. If you include the years, the time I was a deacon at Holy Family at East Granville, it does make 20 years. But if you add the 6 years I spent at Manly Seminary in preparation, it makes an awful large chunk of my life in which I dedicated it, I believe, faithfully to wanting to help others find an eternal kingdom of happiness and peace, where only God and Jesus are able to provide. But what deterred me from that mission was in fact the realization that fellow priests and brothers and seminarians didn't have that ambition when they joined the seminary. Or perhaps some of them did, but they wandered from the path. They were drawn to exercise their sexuality, as I of course was tempted to do, but many of them practiced what I considered strange sexual practices, and among them, as I said, was the pedophilia, the abuse of small children, which I became aware of in my role as a confessor, hearing people tell me that they were sorry for being attracted sexually to children. And I knew that for priests, our role often involves a lot of close contact with children, so it's extraordinarily difficult for a man who has a sexual proclivity towards small children to avoid the temptation that I found quite difficult avoiding with women. But also there was a large number of those people who confessed to me, and I felt bound by that seal of confession to keep their secrets. And over time I found myself going to those same priests and confessing my indiscretions in my celibacy. As I've written in my book, which I hope you'll read, Unholy Silence, available from my website, unholysilence.com, you'll realise that I confessed, they confessed to me, so there was a sort of catch-22. I couldn't talk about their sins because they could tell about mine. And at that point in time, I continued to want to be a priest and to exercise that priesthood as best as I could. So anyway, as time progressed and the multiplicity of those confessions from pedophiles, pedophiles weren't the only thing that concerned me. There were also a number of priests who I saw as predatory homosexuals. They were people that had an attraction to their same sex, but they took advantage of the fact that vulnerable people came to them in difficult situations of their life, confiding terrible problems that they experienced, and then the priest took advantage of them sexually. Often there was cases of alcohol being involved, so the man would come with his problems to the priest. The priest would ply him full of predominantly wine, and the person would succumb sexually to the priest, even though, as some have told me, they weren't homosexual. So that does go to the core of what I'm suggesting in my book, that priests have incredible influential power. Psychological, spiritual, you name it, they've got it over you. Because a lot of people don't want to hear this story. They have convinced that I'm a lunatic, I'm a nut, I made up this story, I'm a conspiracy theorist. There is no pedophilia in the church, or if there has been, it's in the past. That's all the things that a lot of people want to believe, because how difficult it is for you to accept that a priest, a man dedicated to God, can want to do those sexual things with your children. And so that's why a lot of people haven't read my book. They don't want to read it. They don't want to believe it. They don't want to accept and hear that I have admitted that many priests have told me of their sexual desire for you, their parishioners. And that despite my encouraging them to leave the priesthood, they continue to want to enjoy all the trappings that come with priesthood. The fact that you call them father, that you feed them at your house, you give them your best wines, you give them presents at Christmas time, you treat them special, you pay all their expenses. They don't have to pay a cent for their food, clothing, their hospitality of their homosexual and pedophile friends, all paid for by your generosity on the collection plate. And of course, I have told bishops my story, and many of them have refused to even acknowledge that they heard this story. Some of them will deny that I spoke to them. So I've documented all the meetings that I've had with people as far up as Cardinal Pell. So read the book, make up your own mind. Am I a lunatic, or am I a person who has a mission by God to show to you the flaws in the Catholic system that allows that allows celibacy to become a shroud that covers a multitude of sins? God bless you, and I hope you'll read Unholy Silence by Father Kevin Lee.